let's move to the Southwestern Conference, our Week 4 recap here, where we'll start with the Avon Eagles. They travel to North Olmsted. And on the game's first play, quarterback Ryan Malloy of Avon threw a screen pass to receiver Chris Mullins, who outran the North Olmsted defense for 72 yards and a score, and made it 7-0. Then North Olmsted, though, they would strike back as Darren Anders, the running back for North Olmsted, broke through the Avon defense, who has been impressive all year, for an 18-yard score toward the end of the first quarter. It was 13-7 near the end of the first quarter. Then it was the end of the first quarter for Avon and North Olmsted. It was 13-7, and Ryan Malloy, he threw 2 more touchdown passes of 41 yards to Matt Kennedy and 43 yards to David Orlando. It was 20-7 Avon. Then in the second quarter, it was still 20-7 as North Olmsted put together a 7-play drive with Sean Conroy covering the final 20 yards after cutting to the right behind his offensive line to make it a 20-14 game at this point. But then it was Avon quarterback Ryan Malloy. He would score twice, extending the lead. A David Orlando field goal, and the Avon defense forcing a turnover from the Eagles of North Olmsted. All of a sudden, the lead jumped out to 37-14 Avon, and they would go on to win big, 59-14 in this game. Avon improves to 4-0, and this is the big battle that will separate the big boys here. Avon will host Midview with big-time playoff implications here and conference implications on the line, while North Olmsted, they fall to 2-2 and will take on the Westlake Demons. Some stats of note, quarterback Ryan Malloy of Avon, 273 yards passing and 5 touchdowns. For North Olmsted, it was running back Darren Anders. He finished the night with 17 carries for 87 yards, a touchdown for the Eagles of North Olmsted.
Didn't we went to the Avon Midview game last year in Avon.
Yes, we did.
Yeah, I think we did.
No,
Yeah.
it was Avon Westlake.
Or Avon Lake, or
Nope, Avon Westlake, and we went to Avon Lake Midview.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Oh,
that's
okay,
right.
yeah, all right.
But yeah, it's always this to me in this conference. It comes down to Avon and Midview, and I'm waiting for another team to step up. And the next team I cover, which is Berea Mid-Park, we'll see if they can do it. As they had a trap game here with the North Ridgeville Rangers. They traveled to North Ridgeville, and this night though it belonged to Berea Mid-Park quarterback Trevor Bazinski. And I'll tell you what, this kid just keeps getting better and better every week.
The stats are starting to get a little bit gaudy.
Well, wait till you hear his stats.
I know.
In this game,
read the recap.
He threw for 461 yards and 4 touchdowns, and he broke all kinds of school records in this game. And this game actually started off with Trevor Bazinski. Funny enough.
Imagine that.
Yeah. Touchdown pass to Dwayne Holland with 3:23 left in the first quarter with 7-0 Berea Mid-Park. The Titans would close the first quarter with a 14-0 lead. Then Berea Mid-Park would lead as we skipped to half. It was 28-7 at halftime. Berea Mid-Park's offense, they just couldn't be stopped in this game. Bryce Agnew, the running back for the Titans, he ran for 3 touchdowns in the game. It was wide receiver Dwayne Holland. He caught 2 touchdowns and had 125 yards receiving. Luis Vega, the senior, 98 yards receiving and a touchdown. Garrett Waite had 8 receptions, 120 yards, and a touchdown. Solid performances all around for the receiving corps. Especially, it's nice that they have a nice, tall quarterback willing to air it out, and Coach John Hunick not afraid to air it out.
Not at all.
There in Berea Mid-Park. But this game, it was never close. The North Ridgeville defense, they just couldn't figure out this offense, and the Titans would end up winning this game 49-14. Berea Mid-Park, they improved to 3-1 on the season, and they have a big game coming up. They take on the Amherst Comets coming up as North Ridgeville falls to 0-4 and will travel to Olmsted Falls again. Potential player MVP here, quarterback Trevor Bazinski. 461 yards and 4 touchdowns.
That's impressive. But here's the most impressive thing, and we touched on this last week, was the combination of Bazinski and Bryce Agnew. It's a two-headed monster on the ground, and then when you add the ability of Trevor Bazinski to go up top and find receivers like Waite and Vega and Holland over the top, and especially stretching the field, I mean, once that offense gets clicking, it's something to behold. I mean, and it's not so great that it can't be stopped, but it's going to take a pretty special defensive effort. Not only stopping the run, because you can put 8 guys in the box and stop the run, but then you have to worry about selling out to stop the run and getting beat deep by those tall receivers. I mean, I commented to you at the Westlake Berea Mid-Park game how much the receivers just loomed over the corners and the safeties. Now, granted, a cornerback is not normally a tall player in general. They're usually fast, but I mean, when he's throwing the ball up and it's only his guy that's going to get it or it's going to be incomplete, that's a pretty big safety net for a junior quarterback like Baczynski.
Yeah, and having a running game obviously is going to keep players honest.
Yeah.
When he's looking to pass. So they have a big game against Amherst. That's going to be a very fun game to watch. I think it's going to be a close game, and we'll see who's going to pull it out.
And just like Ed mentioned, that Brunswick is getting into the meat of their conference schedule. We're now seeing Berea Mid-Park really start into the meat. I mean, they're going to have to go through the Avons, the Amherst, Olmsted Falls, Midview, Avon Lake. I mean, it's if they can weather all that and come out of that, I'm very interested to see how Berea Mid-Park proceeds if they can continue this offensive just explosion that they've had the past few weeks.
And their defense has clamped down a little bit, only giving up 14 points against North Ridgeville, and they've done a nice job. We'll move to Westlake, who they traveled to Avon Lake. And the Shoremen, they started the scoring early thanks to a 67-yard touchdown run by tailback Connor Riggs on the very first play of the game. And Avon Lake would jump out to a 7-0 lead. And give credit to Avon Lake. They really had Westlake struggling. But Westlake would drive 82 yards before half, but they couldn't put any points on the board as it stalled, and they couldn't score there. Avon Lake defense, they held Westlake to no points as the Shoremen win big, 38-0.
Wow.
And that's surprising with Westlake's offense. Westlake always known to they're a very young team, but they always put up some points. Give credit to Avon Lake. Their defense really stymied the Demons there. Avon Lake improves to 2-2 and will travel to Lakewood as Westlake falls to 0-4, and they travel to North Olmsted.
That's an impressive feat for any team to hold a team scoreless throughout the game. I mean, that's pretty impressive.
Yeah, and this is a Westlake team that put 35 points on Berea Mid-Park.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
nice job by the Shoremen. Amherst, they took on Midview, and it was Seamus Higley's first touchdown as they put up Midview 14.
Seamus.
Yeah. Don't remind me of that, all right? They put Midview up 14-0 early. He found Alonzo Banks over the middle. And then Midview, they jumped out to the 14-0 lead pretty quickly as Higley's second touchdown to Banks came from 10 yards out. And he wasn't done, finding speedster Isaiah Johnson open over the top for a 40-yard bomb to put the Middies up 27-0 over a really good Amherst team. Amherst would finally break through, scoring a touchdown from Joey Tomorrow, the backup running back Scagliazzo. They really had him in check most of the game. It was a 44-yard run, though, by Tomorrow to get Amherst on the board, but Midview would win big 27-7. Midview improves to 4-0 as they travel for, like I said earlier, a big-time matchup at Avon as Amherst falls from the ranks of the unbeaten as they go to 3-1 and will take on a big Berea Mid-Park Titan team. It's Lakewood traveling to Olmsted Falls. And there was a lone passing touchdown for Olmsted Falls, capping a 21-point first quarter.
Ooh.
As quarterback Teddy Grinzinski found Braden Galaska on a 10-yard touchdown. Michael Howard, he added a pair of rushing touchdowns in the second quarter with Luke Lombardo and Grinzinski, each adding touchdowns. This game was 49-0 at halftime, and the Bulldogs would win 49-7 in this one. Olmsted Falls improves to 3-1 and will host North Ridgeville as Lakewood falls to 0-4 and will host Avon Lake. And guys, that's the Southwestern Conference. Again, you have 2 unbeatens left, and next week there'll only be one standing. Will it be Avon? Will it be Midview? And then you have, the 3-1 teams I think are the most curious too, because right now I think Avon and Midview kind of separate themselves. Amherst, I was interested to see how they'd compete against, that Midview team who, Seamus Higley, what a great job stepping in for Dustin Crum this year. They haven't skipped a beat offensively. They've had guys step up, and they've been running through conference pretty easy. Avon and Midview, it usually comes down to that, but you have Olmsted Falls at 3-1, Berea Mid-Park at 3-1, and Amherst. So let's see what happens there. It's going to be fun to see what happens in conference.
I mean, it's definitely interesting to watch week by week how that whole conference kind of just fluctuates. It's always in flux because there's a lot of teams that are, stuff to play one another. But I mean, obviously, out of the gate early, you got to look at Avon as the leader, going in. But again, Midview's right there. Avon Lake's right there. Berea Mid-Park has an opportunity to be there in Amherst. I think, again, as we said before, Berea Mid-Park and Amherst are really the X factors. How do their seasons kind of go? Amherst, lost this week, and Berea Mid-Park has kind of been riding high on an offensive wave. So, how much of that plays into, how the game goes on Friday. So this is going to be fun to follow throughout the rest of the year, especially since we're coming up on the halfway point. And as Josh mentioned earlier, the points are out there. And again, this is legitimately how the region is going to be set up by this particular conference. It's not unheard of that all these top teams we talked about are in the same region in the playoffs, similar to what they were last year. So,
well, and you look at Joe Itel's, top 8 teams qualify, and where Berea Mid-Park is actually in Division I, Region 1, and they're 3-1 right now, but they're 13th, and that's because of the points. They beat a lot of teams that don't have a lot of wins right now. And you look up in that conference, a lot of 4-0 and 3-1 teams. So they're really going to – this is when they need to win, because you look at where Avon is in the top 8 teams in their Region 6. Their number 1 and 2 is Avon and Midview right there. Highland is 3rd. And then you have Amherst, Steele, and Olmsted Falls at 7 and 8. North Olmsted's still in 10th. The top 8 teams now qualify there. So, like I said, Berea Mid-Park can get some points, beating an Amherst or, an Avon and Midview, but it's going to be a pretty tough feat there. So we'll see what happens in their region. And that region, like I said, the Region 6 that they're in, Division II Region 6, is always a tough one because a lot of the teams in the Southwestern Conference are right there. But for Berea Mid-Park, they're in Division I, Region 1. That is an absolute tough region to play in, especially when you have Ignatius, Stowe, Canton McKinley, St. Ed's, Maslin, Jackson. And again, all these teams are 4-0. A lot of teams 3-1. Glen Oak is 2-2, and Strongsville's 2-2, and then they're basically right there. So they're going to have to win some games if they want to step up in their region. All right, guys, any last thoughts on the Southwestern Conference? Before we step away, we'll take a short break. When we come back, we're going to talk about the Suburban League, and I know Ed and Sean are raring to go with the National and American Division over there. Also,
conference play, baby.
Our game of the week, and I can't wait to get into this because it's going to be a fun one, and it's kind of right down the street here.
Yeah, kind of. Well,
and it's going to be good to get back out there after we had the week off. So
yeah,
that's right.
It's going to be nice to get back out there.
But if people are listening, they might want to tune in and see where we're going to be at. Also, check us out at SOT Podcast on Twitter. We're on Facebook. Our website is sportsontappodcast.com for all the podcasts and standings and everything we do. Check us out there at neosportsinsiders.com. All right, we'll be right back. We're Sports on Tap. It's our Week 4 recaps right here on Ohio High School football coverage.